September 2023, Indianapolis, Indiana. A police sergeant was driving through a construction zone in an unmarked squad car when he noticed a Ford Explorer closely resembling an Indiana State Police vehicle. The driver, 23-year-old man named Jonathan Becker, wore a bright green uniform shirt with patches, nearly identical to those worn by Indiana law enforcement officers. As the sergeant drove past, Jonathan pulled behind him and activated white and amber emergency lights, signaling what appeared to be a traffic stop. Thinking it was a fellow officer, the sergeant instinctively slowed down and pulled over. But instead of stopping, Jonathan turned off his lights and continued on his way. Something didn't add up. The investigation begins. Later that day, the sergeant confronted Jonathan directly. "Are you a police officer?" "No." "Then why did you try to pull me over?" Jonathan claimed he was the owner of Indiana Traffic Operations, a company specializing in traffic control at construction sites. He showed signs of being overly prepared: a tactical belt, a radio mic, a key ring with an Indiana State Police logo, and even a whistle, all items commonly used by real officers. Further questioning revealed disturbing facts. Jonathan had 2 sets of handcuffs in his car. A Glock magazine was found inside. He was wearing body armor in the back seat. His vehicle had license plates belonging to another car entirely. When asked about this, Jonathan responded evasively. "I already answered that question 5 or 6 times. He refused to clarify whether he believed he had the right to enforce traffic laws, claiming he was only directing traffic for safety reasons. But there was one big problem: he wasn't a cop. Uncovering the lie. Digging deeper, the sergeant discovered that Jonathan had been building a public image that blurred the line between civilian and law enforcement. On his Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram pages, Jonathan posted photos and videos showing himself wearing uniforms eerily similar to Indiana State Police attire, driving vehicles equipped with emergency lights and sirens, standing next to marked and unmarked police cars, displaying a silver badge usually reserved for retired officers. His TikTok page, called Indy Traffic Cops, featured hundreds of videos showcasing his fascination with law enforcement equipment and procedures. On his business page, he promoted Indiana Traffic Operations LLC, but many of the posts gave the impression he was officially connected to law enforcement. History of suspicious behavior. This wasn't the first time Jonathan had raised red flags. In June 2022, he was photographed directing traffic outside a church, again in a vehicle resembling a police car, during a funeral procession for a fallen officer. In August 2022, Jonathan was seen driving alongside real patrol units, using flashing lights. Records showed he had previously been placed on probation for unlawfully displaying emergency lights on a vehicle. In April 2023, he was stopped again, driving alongside real patrol units, using flashing lights. Each time, he walked away with just a warning. But now, things were different. The arrest. On October 17, 2023, the state of Indiana filed a probable cause affidavit. After reviewing evidence, authorities concluded Jonathan had intentionally misrepresented himself as a law enforcement officer. A warrant was issued the following day. Police raided his home and found more vehicles modified to look like police cruisers, complete with emergency lighting systems and official-looking markings. On October 18, Jonathan Becker was arrested and charged with impersonating a public servant, a level 6 felony in Indiana, operating a motor vehicle with a false license plate, a Class C infraction, possession of handcuffs and police gear without legal authority. He was released a few days later on a $250 cash bond. The final twist. You'd think that would be the end of it. But less than a year later, in November 2024, Jonathan was arrested again. This time, it was for felony impersonation of a public servant and unlawfully carrying a handgun in a newer vehicle, a white Ford F-150, which he had proudly shown off on TikTok just weeks before his arrest. Once again, he was caught playing the role of a police officer despite never having earned the badge. Epilogue. Who is Jonathan Becker? An entrepreneur? A thrill seeker? A man obsessed with the idea of power? Whatever the answer, one thing is certain. When you start pretending to be the law, eventually, the law finds you. And then, it doesn't matter who you think you are. And then, it doesn't matter who you think you are.